I am Kindal Conklin. I am 19 and I teach in the students ministry K through second grade at Grace Fellowship. I started coming to Grace when I was really little, when I was about in first grade, when back then it was called PZ, it was called Power Zone, and Jeremy was leading it, and my parents didn't really find that church that was like the home church, so one of their work friends recommended Grace, and then my parents loved it, they loved BJ, and we started coming there. And then in about middle school or high school, we kind of went on a hiatus. We stopped going to Grace for a while, and then I really started coming back regularly August of last year, and I don't miss a Sunday now because Grace is like my home, and I haven't felt more welcomed as this much by any other church. I haven't felt this involved. This is like the first time I've actually served in a church, and I absolutely love it, and I never want to leave. And it just makes me want to keep coming back more and more, getting more involved, because this is my family church. I want to serve at Grace because that's what Jesus calls us to do. Jesus was a servant. We are never beyond the towel. And he washed feet. We need to wash feet. We are called to serve like he served. And since Jesus has served me so much in my life, I want to give that back to other people. I got a great opportunity to be involved in an intern meeting where Mark was teaching us about identity, how we can be so easily caught into this false identity and believe the devil's lies. But in reality, Jesus is the only one that gives us our true identity, and we have to go to him to find out what that is. And I had been struggling a lot. I didn't even realize I was like living in this false identity until he asked, "What do you hate most about yourself?" And I was like, "Oh, geez." And it all just unraveled. I was crying and crying because I felt so horrible about believing these horrible lies about myself and letting myself go down such a dark spiral when Jesus was there the whole time, just waiting for me to come to him and for him to tell me my true name. And I looked at a grace pin and then it clicked, and Jesus calls me his graceful warrior. I'm not undeserving, I'm not ugly, I'm not dumb, I'm not unworthy, I'm his graceful warrior. And it all just clicked, and it was definitely probably the most spiritual experience I've ever had in my whole life. And I'm honored to have had it at Grace. So going back to what I said is like why I want to keep serving is Jesus changed my life. I was in a really bad spiral. I was anorexic. I was bulimic. I hated myself, had no self-worth. And Jesus is the only thing that pulled me out of that. He gets all the credit, all the glory for that. And I want other people, even little kindergartners, I want them to feel that feeling that Jesus gave me. I want them to feel that feeling of being saved, that feeling of endless joy and endless peace. And I know Grace is doing that. And when I learned about Uncharted and how big it's getting, I guess I didn't realize like how big of a church Grace was, is I see how miraculous this, Chris called it a miracle in the cow pasture. And it is such a crucial part of Wise County. Even if this whole entire Uncharted thing is just for one person to find Christ, then that's what it's all for. And it is just a great way for us to be disciples of Christ and continuing growing and furthering the kingdom of God. Well, it's not like a relationship where if you give, God's gonna give. Like, we're not in that place. But when you do surrender that to him, he gives you so much. Since I've started serving and I gave him that, I gave him my time, I gave him my, I completely was like, God, just use me in this church however you can. I've learned my name. I have learned how to hear God speak. I've gotten to sit in amazing intern meetings. I've got to be in this video. God has grown my spot in this church so much. I've got so many friends, so many church family. My place, if I look back, I'm thinking about a year ago today, before I got involved, before I said, yes, God, just use me in this church, put me where you need to be, I'll give it to you. I'm completely different. I didn't have any friends besides my fiance, Dallas. I wasn't connected. I just was coming and sitting. But when I said yes, everything changed. It became my home church. I'm Kindal, and this is my Uncharted story.